Hello everybody, and welcome to The Last of Us Iceberg.
This iceberg was made by ElectroSlam on Reddit.
The Last of Us is a game created by Naughty Dog, directed by Neil Druckmann, starring stars Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker. The game is about surviving in a world overrun by a cordyceps virus that causes humanity to go insane. Humans now kill each other because they have to, and the ones who are infected will attack anything and anyone on sight. You play as an old man, hurt and beaten by the world, trying to escort this little child who seems to be immune to the virus. And there are many theories and speculations since then about the world and who they are and how they live. You all know how Iceberg works. The top is the most known info that you can find anywhere, and as we go down, you'll start to learn a lot more interesting theories and secrets about the game. Without further ado, let's get into this.
Layer 1. The surface. The podcast.
There is an official Last of Us podcast you can listen to, hosted by Christian Spicer, and Neil Druckmann occasionally makes an appearance, along with stars like Haley Gross, Ashley Johnson, and Troy Baker, and they take the listener through the game, its details, secrets, kind of like a commentary that they have for the cutscenes in the game. The cordyceps. The cordyceps is basically an ant-like fungal virus that attacks ants and makes one of their hosts under control while they go into the hive and infect everybody from inside, eventually just killing them all. Neil Druckmann got the idea when he was watching a documentary about it, and he decided, what if they decide to infect humans one day?
Seattle.
Seattle is basically the main hub area in The Last of Us Part 2, where it hosts many of the main factions, like the Wolves, the Seraphites, and many more dangers. Say what you want about the game, but the environment is very beautiful in Seattle, despite the dangerous outcomes. Stuff like the subway, inside the many buildings, inside the ferry, it's all very pretty.
Part 2 leaks and drama.
Oof, a really big mess. Soon stuff like the script leaks got leaked, actors got leaked, major plot points like Joel dying, Ellie not getting revenge probably, Dina dying. A lot of speculation really happened, and cutscene leaks, false theories. It was just, you just had to be there. It caused the game to have a negative output from the get-go, which is really sad because at the end of the day, it's not a horrible game. Infection stages. Currently, as of now, there are 5 infection stages: a runner, a stalker, a clicker, a bloater, a shambler, and a rat king. Runners are the first stage, where a human acts almost like a rabid dog, chasing without a care and doing anything in its power to just hurt you. A stalker is when the fungal plates start growing on a person's face. It makes them half blind, but their echolocation skills start doing their stuff, and they start learning how to hunt you down and get you by any means necessary, and will constantly hide and run away if you chase them. A clicker is the main enemy of The Last of Us, the real iconic supervillain if you must. They use echolocation to hear, since their face is covered in fungal plates now. They use clicks to hear, and they can sense you if you're standing right in front of them with their wavelengths. I don't know how, they just do it. You can't punch them, but you can. But they are extremely dangerous, and they can one-tap you if you're not ready. A bloater is the final stage in the first game that we see. Bloaters are extremely dangerous, and they cannot be beaten with fists at all. Your best bet is to shoot the little fungal spores on them, but be careful, don't stand around too long or else they will start throwing them at you, which causes spores in the air and will kill you fast. Shamblers are a new infected type. Introduced in Part 2, they are seen to chase after the player and produce a type of spore into the air that causes them to burn. They will combust on death and will cause acid to go everywhere, killing anyone in sight. Next up is a rat king, an amalgamation of really everything. Clickers, runners, stalkers. They will pretty much just do anything, crash you or anything, just to get to you and kill you. TV show. There's an official TV show on HBO Max. As of now, season 2 is not come out yet. What more is there to say? Outbreak Day. September 26, 2011 is when the outbreak started in Houston, Texas, and caused Joel's life to change forever. On his birthday, no less. Outbreak Day is celebrated every year, where they have merch deals, game sales, anything you could think of. It's not as fun anymore, but they try. The Fedra. The Fedra is a government agency that had quarantine zones, and they had power disputes, ration disputes, and are more of a police-like. They are the last remaining part of the official government left in the world, and will do anything just so they don't get infected and to do their job, no matter how corrupt they are, and no matter who they have to kill. Part 2. One Night Live. One Night Live was a live reenactment of the game with the original voice actors and character actors doing their job to reprise their roles in a live action setting, almost like a Broadway play, except there is no music. It's pretty much just every cutscene, except you can see it live. It also includes a secret scene that they did not want you to see of Joel teaching Ellie guitar, which would lead up to part 2. David. David is pretty much just an average TikToker. Typical YouTuber. The op of the winter chapter in the first game. Leader of the hunters. He's wow. Cannibal. Definitely kills anything he has to. And he may have wanted to get a little bit too touchy with our little girl. Of course in the game it's implied, but in the show, he deadass says it. Here's the clip.
What you already knew. The fighting is the part I like the most.
I think he deserves what happens to him. In fact, let's watch the scene right now. Beautiful. Dina and JJ, where are they? At the end of the game, after Ellie comes back home after fighting Abby for the final time, she sees that Dina and JJ are gone. Of course, you have to think, where are they? It has been speculated they return back to Jackson, because that's where Ellie goes back to at the end of the game. We don't know for sure until part 3 comes out, if it ever comes out, if it's even going to continue her story, but we can only hope. The rest of the world. Even though we know about certain parts of the world, what happened to the rest of it? As we see later on in the game, there are many environments we go to. The rest of the world is in shambles. Everything is overgrown, either by nature, infected, or other humans that have seemed to have taken over anything. Nowhere is truly safe, except for small settlements like Jackson, or the Firefly base, at least until this old man showed up and they said they were going to kill his little girl. The Ghost Ship. In Abby's chapter of Seattle, you come across a ghost ship, an abandoned ship that once had survivors. If you pick up a note, it talks about how a captain and a woman once got into a fight. The woman went on to kill many sick patients because they deemed to be sick, even though she knew that they were infected. And at the end, the captain is stuck in a room and he hears infected outside, where he learned that the woman was probably right. American Dreams. American Dreams is a graphic novel. It's a graphic novel about Ellie and Riley and their life in the boarding school before the game takes place. It's a pretty interesting graphic novel. I haven't had time to read it, but it definitely looks really cool. And it explains why Ellie knows how to do any of the things she does, like stitching. The WLF. Washington Libertation Fronts. Ex-Fireflies, now in their own faction. They still fight against Fedra, Seraphites, and anything they can. They are real fighters, and they don't allow anyone to take them down, no matter how many have tried, even if it's their own person. Why is Ellie immune? It has been theorized many times why Ellie is even immune in the first place. Many have come to the speculation that when Ellie's mom was bit during Ellie's birth, her blood went into Ellie's veins but couldn't infect her fast enough when she was nursing her. And that blood eventually went to Ellie's brain, where it grew and grew until she became immune herself. Whether it be actual immunity or just a slow infection slowly taking over her mind, we never know. But Ellie does show signs of infection, including her aggression and her endless strength. So who knows, maybe she really is infected and we just don't know it. Part 2 Cut DLC. There's a lot of cut DLC for The Last of Us Part 2, including multiplayer. They were going to bring back multiplayer eventually, but then it was scrapped after years of getting delayed. It's a shame, because with the new engine, I think multiplayer could have been a very good asset to keep the game alive and running. Of course, now we have a roguelike game mode in the new remaster. where you can go around and kill anything and anyone in waves, playing as many new characters. What are shamblers? It has been said due to the high humidity and rainfall, bloaters evolved into shamblers in Seattle. As I said before, they have pulsating pimples that shoot out acid when they get close to you, and they'll die on death like a bloater would, but instead of releasing spores, they release an acid-like substance that can burn you if you're not careful. You fight a lot of these in the game, so you gotta get used to killing them. They're pretty scary on grounded mode. Ellie is not immune. This is a theory talking about how when Ellie was a baby and getting nursed by her mom, she didn't actually get the infection into her blood. Her immune system kicked in on overdrive and made her tolerant to the infection. So she's not immune technically. It's more or less like a flu. Her immune system is just strong enough to fight back to it. Joel and Tess were dating. This is a theory speculating that Joel and Tess had a romantic love life before the game started, and during the game. People speculate this because when Tess eventually sacrifices herself, she tells Joel that there has to be some sort of ulterior motive for him here. Almost as if she's pleading him. I don't think they were dating personally. They're just really close friends, and even if they did have a romantic life, it was strictly mutual. Nothing really concrete. Although they would make a beautiful couple. Fan films. There has been a lot of fan films online about the game, whether it be from Raka Raka, fake trailers, anything above. Fans just love the game. They love to see what type of world they can make. The Surgeon's Recorder. The Surgeon's Recorder is in the Firefly base. You can look for it, you can find it yourself if you're not too busy slaughtering fireflies. It talks about Ellie's infection and how she could create a cure for humanity. Although I do remember that there is a Firefly recording that says maybe she isn't immune and there's a 50-50 chance it won't work. But so far I can't find any footage for it.
April 28th. Marlene was right. The girl's infection is like nothing I've ever seen. The cause of her immunity is uncertain. As we've seen in all past cases, the antigenic titers of the patient's cordyceps remain high in both the serum and the cerebrospinal fluid. Blood cultures taken from the patient rapidly grow cordyceps and fungal media in the lab. However, white blood cell lines, including percentages and absolute counts, are completely normal. There is no elevation of pro-inflammatory cytokines, and an MRI of the brain shows no evidence of fungal growth in the limbic regions, which would normally accompany the prodrome of aggression in infected patients. We must find a way to replicate this state under laboratory conditions. We're about to hit a milestone in human history equal to the discovery of penicillin. After years of wandering in circles, we're about to come home, make a difference, and bring the human race back into control of its own destiny. All of our sacrifices and the hundreds of men and women who've bled for this cause, or worse, will not be in vain.
Ellie's scar. It's a mystery in the game why Ellie even has her scar. Neil Druckmann has hinted that it does take place pre-main game, Left Behind, and even American Dreams. In the show, Riley mentions that when Ellie and Riley snuck out one day, Ellie got her scar at a convenience store raid. People have speculated that it may have happened during a gunshot or a knife attack, but we still don't know to this day. American Girl dolls. Yep, American Girl dolls. It looks pretty natural to every other viewer, but to the keen eyes who actually know American Girl dolls, they see that there are some inaccuracies with some dolls that predate the game's events. I don't know how they saw that, but they did. But does it take away from the experience? Not really. At the end of the day, it's just a background prop. But to some people, it might have just been a deal breaker. Days Gone is a Last of Us prototype. This has been theorized because Days Gone and Last of Us are in the same engine. They have similar graphics, similar ideas, crafting, and they even have silenced pistols. But I think it's just a scenario where two things just happen to be alike. Both are very different in terms of infected, gameplay, so at the end of the day, Days Gone is not a Last of Us prototype. Last of Us and Uncharted same universe. This has never been confirmed, but Last of Us and Uncharted do have a tendency to mention each other via Easter eggs, or similar locations. In fact, in Uncharted 3, there is a newspaper in the bar that mentions a cordyceps virus. Uncharted 3 predates Last of Us by release date. Even references with more newspapers in The Last of Us, Justin Bieber can be seen playing Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie. Sorry, Tom Holland. Abandoned quarantine zones. Throughout the game, you can find many abandoned quarantine zones, graffitis, notes, and dead soldiers. You can tell by the environment that the quarantine zones are overrun. Stuff did not go well, people were given their rations, and they fought back. Crash Bandicoot reference. In Last of Us Part 2, when Ellie and Dina are on their little solo adventure, meanwhile Joel's getting battered. They find a bunch of old VHS tapes. One of them says, "Smash Brandy's Cooch." I was reference to Crash Bandicoot. And that wraps up the first 3 layers of the Last of Us Iceberg. If you want to see more, like, comment, subscribe, dislike if you dislike it, and no, just kidding. If you want to see more, then, I don't know, comment or something. This video gets like 2 likes. I'll make a part 2. Yep, 2 likes. I'll see you next time, boys. Later.